channel. My name is Brittney. This is the Brittney Reacts Show, and on this Greg talked to my gosh, like we're gonna talk what, but like they have a lot of pretty interesting stream today. How are you guys doing? Aru, ICD Woods, hi Bria. First thing we're gonna talk gonna be a lot about how sort of flop when it first released. If you guys remember when this movie first released, everyone was saying like, oh, it's it's gonna be one of Pixar's worst performances. How is it muted? You guys should. I'm sorry that it says audio is out. For me, it's for me everything is normal. Interesting. Hello? Hello? On my end, everything is working with the audio. You guys should be able to hear it. Thank you, Cat Colfer, for the super. Now it's good? Okay. Sorry about that. I didn't realize the audio was a problem. There is a delay with the chat, so I don't get to see your comments until like at least a minute or two after the fact, so I had no idea. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I was just talking about how Elemental is actually doing really well. I made a whole video when it first released talking about how I wasn't surprised that the movie flopped, because it did flop. It only made like 30 million opening weekend. So it's actually pretty surprising that it could surpass 500 million. From 30 million opening weekend domestically to 500 million worldwide. That just shows you that a lot of people who did see the movie actually liked it. So good for the film, good for Elemental. Again, I still think the movie is, like, fine. I'm not as in love with it as it seems like a lot of other people who saw it are, but I am happy for Pixar. They needed this win, so good for them. Oh, you're saying it's cutting in and out. Everything fine? Can you hear me? Chat's saying it's still issues with the mic. Okay, Olivia B says my daughter saw it in theaters and liked it. She's 6 though. Okay, that's good. Honestly, the main reason why I didn't really care for this film was that I just thought it was very predictable and very by the numbers. But if you're, again, a 6-year-old who hasn't seen as many Pixar movies as I have, or just general animated movies at all, you're probably not going to pick up on all the repetitive tropes and stuff that I did. So I can see this being like something that younger kids take to more. It's just that Pixar used to be known for like appealing to everyone more broadly. So I just feel like, if Pixar wants to get its mojo back, if they want to get their reputation back, they got to make movies that appeal, I think, to everyone. And I still feel like they haven't really gotten there yet. Like, this is good for Elemental, but if you actually compare this to how other previous Pixar movies have done, it's still significantly less than, like, what Coco made or what, like, Inside Out made and those other films. So this is still down, even though it did have a rebound, but I'm just hoping that Pixar at least gets its mojo back eventually. Um, it is not out on streaming yet, although I think it's going to get there soon. 500 million. I know it is surprising, Jordan. Josh Loves Movie says DC and Pixar need to be fixed. Yeah, they both have huge issues, and we're going to get to DC in a second. But moving on to the next thing, Oppenheimer is continuing to do extremely well, just past 700 million. 700 million worldwide, which is incredible. Again, 3-hour movie, mostly just kind of people talking in boardrooms, so it's very surprising that a film like this was able to do well. Very impressive. In fact, Oppenheimer passed Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, that's pretty impressive. Like, you know how big of a deal Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was. Everyone online was talking about it. Plus, it's the typical movie you would expect to do well. It's an animated superhero film starring one of the most popular superhero characters of all time, Spider-Man. So, the fact that Oppenheimer beat a Spider-Man movie is, like, extra impressive. Arts Vinman says, I feel Elemental was done as an experiment to test out new animation techniques and methods. That's what I said in my review. I kind of felt like Elemental was more like about the tech demo. Like, I feel like Pixar just really thought that the whole how the elements interacted with each other was like the selling point of the movie, when I just don't think that was that interesting. I think that there are other more interesting elements of the film other than the animation. To be honest, I think the animation in Elemental is very kind of boring and generic. I wasn't that impressed by it. Whizbang529 says Oppenheimer is only doing this well because of Barbie. Yeah, as I've said, I think the Barbenheimer hype really helped both of them, but especially Oppenheimer. I don't think Oppenheimer would be doing nearly as well. I still think it could have been a hit, but not better than Across the Spider-Verse level hit. This is something I don't think anyone could have expected. Moving on. Oppenheimer is also now the highest grossing movie ever to never reach a #1 at the domestic box office, which is pretty, again, very highly impressive. Again, they never reached #1 because Barbie was always #1, but hey, I mean, they're still making money, so they can't be too upset about it. And then moving on to the sadder news. I said I wanted to start the stream a little bit more positive. Instead, we started with tech issues, but at least we're here now. But now moving on to the not so positive news, because there's still a lot of movies right now in theaters, or who just left theaters, that just did not do well at all. And one of them was DreamWorks' new movie, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, which only was able to do 42 million globally. 42 million globally, that's it! It is the lowest box office ever for a DreamWorks movie. And I did review this movie. You guys should go back and check out my live stream where I did a review of this. I did a huge deep dive on why I thought the movie wasn't that great. Why I think I'm not surprised it was, a flop. But the fact that it flopped this bad is, like, extra horrible. I know, right? I mean, this is like, it didn't even make $50 million, y'all. She says it honestly deserved it. Yeah, after I saw the movie, I think that this just came out at a crowded time. I mean, if you were a kid who really wanted to go see an animated movie, you were probably either going to go see Spider-Verse, or maybe you were going to go see Mario again, or even, like, maybe if you wanted to go see Barbie, because I know a lot of little girls wanted to see Barbie. I just think that no one was going to go see this random DreamWorks movie that barely got any promotion when there's just so many other films that, like, kids could have seen at the same time. So I think it was a mixture of a bad release date, but also the movie itself just wasn't that interesting. Shehem says this is a very unrelatable movie. Interesting. Arvin says this movie made Brittney hungry because the characters were like gummies. They did look like gummies. Even in this picture, she still looks like a gummy to me. But anyway. Also some horrible news. Haunted Mansion just crossed 85 million at the worldwide box office. 85 million, which is not good, because the movie carries a $150 million budget, minimally. Disney never actually reports accurate budgets, so I bet it's at least $50 million more expensive than that. But even still, at $150 million, and this movie is not even gonna cross 100 million domestically, this is another huge flop. So again, we're just having lots of huge flops. Yeah, we had a big hit with Barbie and Spider-Verse and Oppenheimer, but it doesn't hide the fact that I think still more movies are disappointing and flopping rather than being hits. And like again, this just shows you how bad of a deal Disney currently has it. None of their movies other than Guardians have been doing well this year. And it looks like Haunted Mansion is also going to lose a ton of money. So this is pretty bad. Little Joe's Animations, thank you so much for the super chat. You're always so generous. Thank you. Hey guys, what did I miss? I've been watching Glee. We're just going over the box office right now. You haven't missed a whole ton. But thank you for being here and thank you for the super chat. Aaron Lopez says, poor Haunted Mansion. I feel like they released it at the wrong time. Why not during October? Exactly. This is such a Halloween movie. Like, it's obviously a Halloween movie. I don't understand at all why this wasn't released for Halloween. I feel like this movie would have done, like, at least 50% better if it was just released in October. I feel like them releasing this in July, they were just kind of, they either didn't have any faith in this movie to begin with, or, I don't know, maybe they were hoping to release this on Disney Plus around Christmas. Maybe that's their plan. I don't know. I don't understand it. I think it was a horrible release date. And again, if you've seen my review of the movie, I also don't think it was all that great. So again, I'm not terribly surprised. Quack says, I watched Haunted Mansion. It's better than I thought it would be, but the original was still better. I agree. I felt like the remake could have taken out a few scenes. I just felt like the remake had like no creativity, no soul. I mean, you could say that about like pretty much almost any Disney movie nowadays, but this one in particular just, it felt like it came off of a conveyor belt of just like corporate machine filmmaking. I know that sounds savage, but like honestly, as I was watching this movie, that's all I could think of was just how like dry and like no soul was in this movie. The Eddie Murphy one, yeah, the Eddie Murphy one is also super campy and it's not a perfect film, but at least that one I felt like had more energy to it. It had more charisma, more charm. This new one that just came out was just so charmless, so forgettable, so bland. It's just like everything that is wrong with like most Disney movies right now. They just feel like very corporate and they don't even feel like art. They do. I know I'm being savage, but if you've seen the movie, you know I'm right. Kasaki says a lot of Disney ride diehards hated the original, but I loved it as a child. Oh, I loved the original Eddie Murphy movie as a child. That was another movie I watched a lot as a kid. Yes, Brianna does art. A lot of their movies are very gray and bland, and this one was really no different. Prince says just a product promotion movie, to be honest. Yeah, it did feel that way. It just felt like as I was watching the movie, they might as well have just ended the film with a commercial for Disney World to go ride the ride, because, like, that's about as creative as it felt. It just felt like a commercial for the ride. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. Very kind. I also think it came out at the wrong time. Should come out during the 90s. That's true. Although I do think the Haunted Mansion ride is still very popular. Whenever you go to the parks, this ride always has like a long wait time because people love this ride. So it's still a very popular ride. I just think the movie itself is like not good. Again, I just think it was very extremely bland. That was the film's biggest issue. But thank you for the super chat. Nicholas says, the only Disney one that didn't feel corporate was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 from the guy Disney originally fired. I know. That's why I liked Guardians 3, because that one actually felt like it had a soul. Can you imagine? A Disney movie with a soul. I feel like that was the only one that they released this year that had one. So I'm not surprised that's the only one that did well. But moving on. Another movie that didn't do very well was Transformers Rise of the Beast. It will end its run as the lowest grossing live-action Transformers movie of all time. So this, again, I saw this movie. I thought it was better than I expected. It's still a basic Transformers movie. It's not anything like revolutionary, nothing to sing home about. But I think this franchise is just tired. There's like a million of them at this point, and I don't think that most of them really haven't been very good. So I just don't think there's the goodwill around this franchise or even the interest to really drive these movies anymore. They're supposed to be releasing yet another Transformers movie next year. And I don't think that one's gonna do well, because this one didn't do well, and I truly just think that people are just like good and tired of this entire franchise. The Modern Designer, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Disney has struggled creatively since John Lasseter left as chief creative officer for Disney and Pixar in 2018. Since then, it's been nothing but remakes. Yeah, honestly, I hate to say it, but I think the drop off in quality after John Lasseter left is very obvious. If you guys don't know what the Modern Designer is talking about, John Lasseter used to be like the head honcho over at Pixar, who was like the main guy behind a lot of Pixar's old classics. But he got fired during the Me Too era for some not so, less than savory charges, I should say. He got fired from Pixar, and ever since then, I feel like there's been a very noticeable drop in quality. I can't deny. So they need another John Lasseter, preferably one a little bit less creepy, but I do think they need someone who is at that level. But we'll see. I don't think that the new guy they have, Pete Docter, who's now in charge of Pixar, I just don't think that he has that same sauce, to be honest. But we'll see. I'm still rooting for Pixar. I like them as a studio, but they have some issues. Maiden says Transformers was over as years ago. Yeah, honestly, I felt like Transformers was over with the last Mark Wahlberg movie. That one was just so terrible. That should have killed the franchise forever. The fact that they kept going is just honestly cash grabs. Like, that's the only reason they're still going, because these movies are really bad. Yeah, you guys agree. They need a Lasseter. Lala Kitty says, you can work on Pixar. I would love to help them come up with ideas, like story ideas. I'll do that. Moving on, though. Oh, so The Flash. The Flash is still really, really embarrassing. Oh my god, y'all. Now we're finally getting to DC and all the many, many problems that DC has. Because The Flash just ended its theatrical run with $268 million worldwide. $268 million worldwide, y'all. The budget was around $220 million, and I don't believe this budget. I believe it's probably closer to 300, because all these studios do is lie about their budgets. But let's just say it's $220 million. This is insane. This is one of not just the biggest superhero flop of all time, but it's also, I think, just generally one of the biggest flops ever of any genre. That's how bad this movie did. It's actually embarrassing. If you guys want to see just how embarrassing it is, it's actually doing worse than a lot of movies that are known for being major flops. Think back all the way to when they released Batman v Superman. Do you remember Batman v Superman came out and it made still $800 something million, but people still considered that a flop because Batman v Superman should have made $1 billion. But now we're at the point where DC can't even get to 300 million. You remember that? When we thought 800 something million was a flop for DC, now they would kill for something like that. They would die to have a movie with those kind of numbers. It's really a 180 with this. Glitchmation says it came out on Max this Friday. Oh, I know. I'm gonna watch it on Max. In fact, thank you for bringing this up. I'm gonna watch Flash on Friday because it is coming to Max finally, and I told you guys I'd watch it when it was finally free to watch on streaming. So I'm gonna watch it on Friday, and next week I'm gonna give you my spoiler review on what I think of the movie. So if you want to hear me roast The Flash, please make sure to subscribe to never miss that live stream, because I am going to roast the heck out of this movie next week. It's gonna be fun. I know it does look bad. Everything I've seen from this movie just looks awful. I think it deserves to do this badly. I'm not even gonna lie. Yellow Umbrella says Elemental did better than The Flash. Exactly! Elemental did better than The Flash. Elemental. Yellow Umbrella says plot twist, Brittney likes The Flash. That would be a huge plot twist. That would be the most shocking thing to happen all year if I actually liked that movie. John Burns, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Obviously, being a CEO is difficult. I think we need a telethon for CEOs. Imagine the songs. who can be successful surrounded by yes people. I think a lot of the CEOs in Hollywood right now don't know what they're doing. I mean, to be fair, it's a very difficult, challenging era for the industry, for everyone, for a variety of reasons, but I think the people in charge of greenlighting stuff, as I've said, just really don't know what they're doing. Or the people who are making this stuff. Like, why would you purposely make your movie look like this? One of the main critiques that The Flash has had is that the CGI looks terrible in it. But the director actually came out like a couple months ago and was like, no, we purposely made it look bad. And it's like, why would you do that? Even if that is true, and he purposely did make the movie look like all distorted and weird, do you not realize that makes your movie look fugly? Why would you purposely make your movie fugly? That's what I'm talking about when I say, like, a lot of people right now making these movies have no idea what they're doing, or they just have really terrible taste, or don't understand, like, what audiences are looking for. It's just true. I'm being honest. All right, moving on. Now we're going to talk about Blue Beetle. Because Blue Beetle did even worse. Somehow, it did even worse than The Flash. Y'all, Blue Beetle opened to $25.4 million at the domestic box office. Only $25 million. That's less than Shazam 2. Less! Somehow, Blue Beetle made less than Shazam 2. And Shazam 2 was already a massive flop, so that's embarrassing. And the film's budget was over $100 million. I mean, that's pretty cheap for a superhero, but $25 million opening for a budget of $100 million. This movie is probably not going to make money. It's definitely a flop, and we're probably never going to see Blue Beetle again. Which sucks, because if you guys watched my non-spoiler review, I told you I actually really liked this movie. I was kind of hoping it would be a surprise hit, but I don't think that's going to happen. Because it's already a flop. And there's no reason to keep a flop character in the new DCEU. At least that's what makes sense to me. James Gunn has already been doing a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense to me, so I don't know. Maybe he will keep him, but we'll see. Who actually ended up seeing Blue Beetle? Because I know on Friday a lot of you hadn't seen it yet. Did anyone actually go and see it? What did you think of it? Kizaki says, I blame advertisers. I've only seen the trailer before the Spider-Verse movie. Yeah, I don't think they really advertised Blue Beetle much. Again, I don't think... Probably either A, Warner Brothers didn't have the money to advertise this, or they just didn't believe that this movie was worth spending a lot of money for, and they were probably right. Namor7 says, the DC film brand has been tainted with their lackluster work. Oh yeah, I think the DC brand is in the dust. I think that DC has never been perceived worse than it is right now by the general public. I think the general public are only interested in a DC movie if it's got Batman as the main character, or if it's a Joker movie. That's it. It seems like they only care about Batman and Joker right now. Literally everyone else, they don't care. John Burns, thank you so much for the super chat. Watch Dave Foley in The Wrong Guy. Is this relevant to Blue Beetle? I'm not sure. Sorry, John, but thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Jules Elizabeth says, yep, and I know it wasn't the greatest, but I still enjoyed it. Yeah, okay, Jules Elizabeth also liked it. I'm glad. I don't think this is even that bad. That's the crazy part. It's not even like I can say, oh yeah, guys, the movie is just horrible. That's why it didn't do well. Because I actually think it's pretty decent. Although, maybe I'm not in the majority because the film did get a B+ cinema score, which is not great. If you guys don't know what cinema score is, it's a way that, Cinema Score is a company that polls people that come out of a theater to see how much they like the movie. And a B+ for a superhero film is really not good. That means that the general audience actually mostly didn't care for it, or they were kind of mixed on it. This is actually not a good score, so it makes me think that this movie is not going to have the nice legs I was hoping for, that most of the people who saw this movie probably saw it this weekend, and that it's probably going to tank next weekend, so it's not looking good for this movie. I'm actually shocked by this score. I really thought it was going to get, like, at least an A, maybe an A-, but a B+ is pretty bad. Do you guys think this is fair? Lala Kitty gives the movie a 4 out of 10. Interesting. Why don't you like it? For the people who don't like Blue Beetle, why not? I'm curious. Procrastinating Turtle says, was Blue Beetle even in a movie prior to being a main character? No. I hadn't heard of Blue Beetle before the character was in Young Justice. Yeah, Blue Beetle isn't even a popular character, I think, in the comics So this was really just an obscure character that, I don't know, they just pulled out of nowhere. I really don't understand why they thought this movie was like something that needed to be made when they have so many other characters, DC characters, that they could have made movies for instead that are much more well known. It's very strange to me. Nicholas Wilson, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I really wanted Blue Beetle to win. I did too. After seeing it, I was actually rooting for it, so it's a little disappointing. Angel Barrera, thank you also for the super chat. Maybe people lost faith after DC's multiple bombs. I think DC has a reputation for being a bit of a failure, to be honest. Compared to Marvel, DC has always been seen as the one that just can't get their act straight. And I think over time that has really, really taken a toll on the movie's like overall reputation. So yeah, fully agree with that. Also, I just think that a lot of those movies haven't been good, to be fair. Tiffany Banks says they need a good Poison Ivy movie. Maybe that could do well. At least Poison Ivy's more well known than Blue Beetle. Like, why did they make a Blue Beetle movie before they made a Poison Ivy movie? Or another Superman movie? Make it make sense! It doesn't make sense to me. And Blue Beetle is actually earning less money than Morbius. Morbius! This movie's doing worse than Morbius, y'all. It doesn't deserve this. Not Morbius. I saw Morbius at the drive-in, and it was just like, wow, this movie is like textbookly bad. Like everything about how to make a bad movie, this movie does. So I don't think Blue Beetle deserves to do worse than Morbius. I gotta be honest. The Modern Designer, thank you so much for the super chat. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Modern Designer says, oh, you want a poll? What do you blame for the flop studio marketing cast? That's a great poll idea. Let me do that. Thank you, the Modern Designer. So I'm going to do a poll. Why do you think Blue Beetle flopped? Okay. Why Blue Beetle flopped? Sorry, I got something in my eye. Why did this flop? I'm just going to say, why flop? Okay. I'm going to say the lack of name talent, maybe? No. I'm going to say marketing. Character isn't popular. No one knows Blue Beetle. And then I'm going to do a third option, which is just no one likes DC anymore. Sorry. Got something in my eye and it's not coming out. No one likes Blue Beetle. Alright, asking the community. Angel says, I blame DC's track record. Yeah, I think that's a huge issue. Similar to what Demeter. Oh yeah, Voyage of the Demeter also flopped. I didn't even include that one, but yeah, that was another huge flop too. Sorry about that. I know, I'm crying. I'm not even trying to cry. I don't know what's in my eye. Yeah, I think DC is mainly just a tainted brand, to be honest. I think that people, when they see the DC logo, they think, oh, the movie is probably not going to be that good, or there's going to be a lot of drama, or it's probably going to be a flop, because that's what all DC movies are essentially associated with at the moment. What is the poll? I'm curious to see what you guys think, though. So far, 55% of you think that the movie flopped because no one knows who Blue Beetle is. I think that's fair. 40% of you think it's the marketing, and honestly, they weren't marketing at all. I probably should have added a fourth option for all of the above, because it's probably all of these things. And then, I said no one liked Blue Beetle. I meant no one liked DC. But that also could be an option. But anyway, it seems like a lot of you just think that no one knows who Blue Beetle is, and no one even saw the marketing for it. And I think those are very, very fair assessments. Pretty Princess says, I fell asleep in the Voyage of the Demeter. I heard it was pretty boring, not gonna lie. So that doesn't surprise me. Matthew W says, Voyage of the Demeter was a slog to watch, and it wasn't scary at all. Honestly, the trailer made it look boring. I told you guys, I feel like I can look at a trailer for a movie and tell right away whether or not I'm gonna like it. And I thought the trailer for that movie made it look boring, so I'm not even surprised that it is boring. You guys want me to redo the poll? Honestly, I probably should. I can barely see it. I was trying to, like, write the poll through my tears. Alright. Why did Blue Beetle flop? Oh, we have another super chat. Thank you so much. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to say marketing. No one likes DC. No one knows the character, then all of the above. All right. This should be a much better one. Sorry about that. Now getting to the super chat. So thank you, Loki07, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. To be fair, this film had little to no promotion that had a lot to do with its box office. How you market a film or how a character really matters, plus DC on film is a tainted brand. Yeah, I think it's a tainted brand. I think that the way they marketed this character, it was like, I feel like the marketing for this film This stream has been a mess. I'm so sorry for that, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm gonna have to get a new mic because I don't know why it keeps doing that. I apologize for that. Did you hear me answer that? Dane C, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Brittney, I see you crying over it being a slop. I know it looks like I'm crying when it's because I have something in my eye. It's all awful over here. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now? It still says no sound. Okay, it's good now. I'm back. I'm so sorry. Tomorrow's live stream, again, I do these live streams every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow's live stream will be much more put together, I promise. I'm so sorry, y'all. Anyway, what are you guys saying in the poll? 53% of you are saying all of the above. So you think that both the marketing, no one likes DC, and that no one knows the character. I think you're probably right. I think all of these are the reasons. 17% of you think it's marketing, 17% of you think just no one knows the character, and then 13% of you, which is the smallest portion, says that no one likes DC. I'm actually surprised that one is the smallest option. I would think that would be like one of the bigger ones. But yeah, you guys are right. It's probably all of the above. I think that DC has so many issues at this point. It's not even just like one thing. Okay. Audio was gone? Are you saying the audio was gone again? No. Oh no. I'm sorry. Audio was cut off. Can you hear now? Oh no. Jorge Barrios, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. Everything on my end says you guys should be able to hear me. That's why I have no idea until someone says something in the chat. I'm gonna answer your super chat. Oh wait, that was the same one. Never mind, I already answered that one. Oh wait, that was the one that I did ask you, but I don't think you heard me, so I'm gonna answer it again. Do you think Cavill's firing is fueling DC's flops? Okay, I think that's what I answered, but you didn't get to hear me last time, so let me re-answer it. I do think that's part of the reason. I think that DC, they've somehow managed to piss off everyone, not just the casual moviegoer, but somehow also hardcore comic book fans. So yeah, I think that is part of the reason. I think that James Gunn keeps putting his foot in his mouth, which is only hurting the brand further. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess over there for sure. Thank you so much. Okay, you can hear me now. That's good. That's good. Hopefully there's no more audio issues. I'm going to figure out what's going on after this. Sorry about that. But moving on, I did want to get to the member questions because last week I actually asked you guys why you weren't seeing Blue Beetle if you weren't seeing it. So I wanted to get to some of those other comments that you said. Matt Book Trailers, thank you for being a member, says, I've never read the comics. I don't know a lot of the DC characters. While I do know Superman and I love the Christopher Reeves version, I am more of a Batman fan. For me, I will wait until the film is streaming to watch it. Going to a theater is extra energy. So I do think what you're saying here is that it's basically a lot of money and energy and time to go to a theater. I think that also could be part of why so many of these movies aren't doing well. I think that, again, in order to justify yourself as a theatrical release, you need to make yourself seem like an event. And Blue Beetle just never felt like an event. Jordan Davis says, it's probably because of superhero fatigue from both Marvel and DC. Or it could be the fact that Blue Beetle is not a well-known character, as we just talked about. It's kind of like how Eternals was not well-known, and that did not make a lot of money. But here's the thing. These comic book movies used to be really good at making people, or making characters that weren't well-known, more well-known. Like, no one really knew who Iron Man was or who Guardians of the Galaxy was, 20 years ago. But now everyone knows who those characters are. It's interesting now that the brand or the genre of superheroes are just, so down at the moment that they can't really even, they can't make unknown superheroes popular like they used to. Now I feel like they have to rely on the ones that are already popular. So I think that just shows you of, just how much the genre has declined over the years. The Modern Designer, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thoughts and prayers are with your audio equipment. I know. My thoughts and prayers are with your patience. You guys are very, very kind and patient. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. You guys agree with me about the Iron Man. No one knew who Iron Man was, but Marvel was able to make them popular. But now it's they can't do that again, and DC can't do it either. It's like they have to focus on just the popular ones, which kind of sucks for them. Okay, Hannah says the difference is that Iron Man had a solid movie. That's true, but again, I actually thought that Blue Beetle was solid. I don't think it was terrible. It wasn't as good as the first Iron Man, that's true, but I don't even think that these movies are just terrible. They're just again, these movies have to be amazing in order to be seen in theaters or seen as worth it in theaters. And I think that just shows you of how far the genre has declined. Moving on to Lil Boozebert. Again, thank you so much for being a member. It's I'd like a more original superpower movies with little or no pre-existing IP. Think Stranger Things, The Boys, Brightburn, Super, and Kick-Ass. That could be something. Maybe we could have more original movies that still have superhero-like stories or characters with superpowers. I'd be for that. I actually like a lot of those movies you just mentioned or shows, so I could see that. Would you guys want to see more of that? Bruce Robinson says, starting to stray too much away from the source material. Yeah, I think that both Marvel and DC are just kind of just taking the comics as just mere inspiration. They're hardly really adapting them anymore. That's true. Jorge Barrios, again, thank you so much for the super chat. I think Affleck's brutal Batman needed a solo film. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they were planning to make a solo Batflick film. It's just that everything with Justice League and Batman v Superman fell apart, so we never got to see that Batflick film. But I think they were planning to at some point. It's just, again, things didn't work out for them. Chris Richards says, it's a huge effort to go to a theater, and it's expensive. Very true. Unless it's a must-see, I'll wait for it to appear on streaming. And I think more and more people are becoming the same way. But I wanted to get to a few more member comments since I missed a few of them last week. Again, if you want to be a member, please make sure you click the join button at the bottom of the screen. Becoming a member, you could get the opportunity for a shout out in my live streams, and you get to support the channel. So please become a member if you're able to. Moving on, I do want to show you guys just a little bit. We're gonna get through what James Gunn currently even has planned for DCU's future slate, and I think a lot of it either isn't gonna happen or is probably gonna flop. So we're just gonna quickly go through what James Gunn has planned for the future of DC, because I still don't think the future of DC is all that bright, and you're about to see why. Joshua Munn says, people knew Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk, especially Hulk, when they made Phase 1. That's why they started with those characters, to be fair. Maybe, comic book people knew who those were, but I don't think, everyday average people knew who Iron Man was. He was not a popular character. That's what I mean. Everyday household characters that everyone can name, off the top of their head. Iron Man was never that until the MCU made him that way. It just seems like both DC and Marvel have lost the ability to do that with lesser-known characters. That's my point. Alright, so getting to this slate. The first one, of course, we have is Superman Legacy. That's James Gunn's Superman film. I don't know how this is gonna do, y'all. I'm nervous. I think that even if this movie is good, there's a chance it'll still flop regardless, just because general audiences are so, they're just not caring for DC right now. Do you guys think that this movie has any chance at all at being a hit, even if it is good? I mean, Superman is a hard character to adapt in general, and even the last Superman film we got with Man of Steel wasn't, universally beloved. So, I don't know. Do you guys actually think this movie has a chance at being a hit? Because if this movie flops, let me tell you, if this movie flops, I think Warner Brothers shouldn't make a single DC property, whether it's a movie, a game, or a show, for at least 5 years, minimally. I think they need to take a long break. Because if Superman Legacy flops, what else are you gonna do from there? That was supposed to be your big reboot. If your big reboot fails, you're just kind of SOL. Joshua Munn says Superman Legacy will flop. Interesting. And the only thing that'll be able to save DC, the only movies they'll make are Marvel DC crossovers. Oh no. Hence why James Gunn is pushing so much for that. You think they're gonna get to the point where there's gonna be Marvel DC crossovers? I feel like when we get Avengers versus Justice League, that'll be the moment that the superhero genre is officially dead. Because I feel like Kevin Feige will only allow that to happen if that's Marvel's absolute last resort for relevancy. I mean, it could get there. Everything that I'm hearing about Secret Wars so far kind of makes it sound like we're almost getting to the Justice League versus the Avengers type of thing, but I don't know. I feel like they really shouldn't do that because I think that'd be bad for both universes, but yeah. That would just show you just how desperate both of them would be if they did that. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Then we also get a Supergirl movie, or maybe we'll get a Supergirl movie. Honestly, again, I don't know if most of this stuff will actually happen. I feel like when James Gunn was announcing this stuff, he was announcing it like it was all super theoretical, like it might happen, like he'd like to make a Supergirl movie, but he doesn't know if it's gonna happen, so we'll see. I think, again, it all depends on if the Superman film actually works. If the Superman film is a hit, then maybe they'll make this, but again, I don't think they're going to make this if that Superman film flops. I don't think they'll make any of this if that Superman film flops. And then they're making another Batman movie for some reason. Not another Batman with Robert Pattinson, but a separate Batman with another actor as Batman. And another universe. So we're going to have two Batmans going at the same time in separate universes. And I think that's stupid. It's very stupid. And I think it's going to confuse, again, casual moviegoers who don't follow this stuff. And I don't understand why they're doing it. Anyone actually interested in this extra Brave and the Bold Batman movie? I know I just said that casual moviegoers will see a Batman movie, but I think they'll see Robert Pattinson's Batman movie. I don't know if they'll see the DCEU's Batman movie. I think they're really just over, like, anything connected with DC right now. Jorge Barrios, again, thank you so much. We need DC movies more like Pattinson Batman. Yeah, as I just said, I think that the public likes Pattinson. I don't know why they didn't just spin off the new DC universe with the Batman as like their Iron Man. They could have made a whole new DC universe just around the world of the Batman. Why didn't they do that? That would have been the smart move, but instead, no, they're gonna make a whole separate universe and start with Superman. Which, again, just makes no sense to me. Lydia says the DC plans are very fan-led. Yeah, very fan-led. I don't think that, again, casual moviegoers who don't follow this stuff are going to care or know about most of this stuff. So I think a lot of these are probably going to flop. Then there's going to be a Swamp Thing movie. Again, Swamp Thing, I've at least heard of Swamp Thing, so I know that he's at least a little bit more well-known. But again, I think this is such a niche thing. They really should be focusing more on their, like, super, super popular characters than, like, doing a Swamp Thing movie. Like, I feel like, again, that's just so niche for just a small, like, die-hard comic book audience. I can't see this being a big hit regardless. Anyone actually interested in a Swamp Thing movie? Matt B. Trailer says, I will try watching Batman on streaming. There's so many superhero movies. Yeah, there's way too many. Jal Pedro says, I think superhero movies work better when they can stand on their own as a single movie. Absolutely agree. Fully agree. Some of my favorite superhero films are ones that, you know, you don't really need a sequel to, which I think the reason those movies are good is because they're not constantly trying to set up something else. I just think that these movies need to, like, have contained stories with contained characters that aren't always concerned with, like, what's going on with some other movie or show that happened years ago that you may or may not have seen. Like, I just think that all the connectedness is getting tired. Jojo Rod really wants something with Poison Ivy. Interesting. Brianna Desart says, I didn't know Swamp Thing was a DC character. That's what I'm saying. Swamp Thing is not, like, a super, super, like, popular character. Kasaki says, wasn't Swamp Thing supposed to be made into a horror TV show, then it was canceled? There was a Swamp Thing show on a very short-lived DC streaming service, which even seems more ridiculous now in retrospect. But yeah, I don't think anyone watched it, and I think it only had like one season. But moving on, then we're getting The Authority, which again is another comic book property that I don't think that anyone who isn't a hardcore comic book fan would even know of. I barely even know who The Authority is. I think this is a deep cut. I'm not interested. And then we're getting a Wonder Woman spin-off show without Wonder Woman, which makes no sense. We're supposed to be getting, like, a show that's supposed to take place at the Mascara, which is where all the Wonder Woman and all the Amazons live. But it's not going to have Wonder Woman in it. We're going to have a Wonder Woman-less Wonder Woman show. How does that make sense? Again, please make this make sense. None of these plans make sense to me. I don't get it. Jorge Barrios, thank you again for the super chat, says, also Batman was real world, not sci-fi CGI mush. Yeah, I think that maybe is why people like the Pattinson movie, is because it did feel more real. I think a lot of these movies got to depend less on CGI. I think audiences aren't as impressed with CGI anymore. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, Josh Loves Movie says Paradise Lost sounds cool. So, honestly, if it did have Wonder Woman in it, I would probably think this also sounds cool because they want this to be, like, their Game of Thrones, which is weird. But I just think it's weird to have a Wonder Woman-less Wonder Woman show. Again, it's just like, what are they thinking over there? Who is this for? The Modern Designer, again, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are so kind. Wow. Superman should learn from Barbie and Avatar. It needs to be the must-see film of 2025. Fully agree. The story should be bold, the sets and special effects mostly practical. I couldn't agree more. I think that all of movies, really, if they want to be big hits, need to be event films. And Superman Legacy has to be an event film to do the numbers that I think Warner Brothers needs it to do. And the only way it can be an event film is if they make that movie look as good as possible. Like, it visually, even from the trailers and the marketing, Superman Legacy has to look different from all the other DC movies to stand out. It has to distinguish itself from all the past crap that's come out. So it visually just needs to look very good and very, very different. But fully agree. Moving on, then there's also Booster Gold, who, I don't even know who this is. Again, some of this stuff, when it comes to me, I'm an expert, or at least I claim to be an expert, when it comes to comic book movies. Like, I've seen all the comic book movies pretty much. I know the comic book, like, business side of things. I've followed all of it. Like, I know the comic book movie space. But when it comes to the actual comics, I'm pretty much like the layman's perspective, like most people, because who the heck is Booster Gold, y'all? Who? Maybe they'll make it interesting, maybe they'll make it good, but it's like DC has so many problems, they can't even get a Flash movie to work. If they can't get a Flash movie to work, why are they making something called Booster Gold? Like, who the heck is that? Creature Commandos, this is another, like, animated show that they're apparently already working on. It's got Amanda Waller in it. I don't know why she's back. I love Viola Davis. I really do. But they really should be doing, like, a hard reboot, so I don't know why she's coming back. But, like, Henry Cavill isn't. None of it makes any sense. Again, Waller's getting her own show, which quadruply doesn't make any sense. It's a spin-off of Peacemaker. Why are they making a spin-off of Peacemaker other than the fact that James Gunn is now in charge and he can do whatever he wants? That's really the only reason the show is getting made. Who wants to see a Waller show? Who wants an entire show just based around Amanda Waller? Or Booster Gold? Or any of these, really? What are you guys thinking about this stuff? Am I just being too negative, or are you guys agreeing with me? Arvin says Booster Gold is a time traveler. Okay, I like time travel. That could be interesting, but I'm gonna have to see more. Zarp says Gunn will definitely get Chris Pratt as Booster Gold. Maybe. Obviously Gunn likes Pratt, so maybe they'll work again? But if they work again in DC, it's just gonna feel like Marvel again. And I want DC and Marvel to feel separate. I don't know if I really want, like, all these Marvel actors to go into DC because James Gunn's there now. I think it'll make the two universes too similar. I think that'd be a really bad idea. Yeah, it's a hard sell on all of these. I'm glad you guys agree. Namor7 says this slate of projects sounds like homework. You're not wrong. Doesn't this seem like homework? Like, does this stuff sound fun to watch? Like, all of this? Or does it sound like homework in order to, like, force yourself to get invested in a universe that should be dead by now? Because that's kind of how I'm feeling. Okay, you guys are agreeing with me. Good. Marissa A, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. They need to prioritize quality over quantity. Yep, Marvel too. Cinematic universes nowadays seem like just an excuse to greenlight a bunch of trash. Oh, that's savage, but yeah, you're not wrong. It feels like a lot of these shows and movies are just being made just to have content, and I think that people are smart enough that they can tell when something is just being made just to be made and just to be a cash grab. And I feel like a lot of these new superhero projects are definitely coming across as just like empty cash grabs. And I think that's part of why the whole genre is declining. But thank you for the super chat. And then we're getting a Green Lantern show. So we're finally getting something Green Lantern again after the Ryan Reynolds disaster. So I guess the only way to go with this is up, because the last one was so poorly received. But again, I don't think this show is ever happening, because I think most of this is going to flop anyway. And they won't have the money to do it. So yeah, that's my honest opinion about DC's future slate. I think it looks pretty bleak, not going to lie. The Modern Designer says, I'm tired of Chris Pratt and DCEU. Yeah, Chris Pratt is kind of everywhere. He has a great agent. Bruce says Booster Gold in comics is a big goof, so Gunn might use Pratt. Yeah, like I said, I can see him using Pratt, but I just don't want him to, because we need some distinction between DC and Marvel. Casual people already get those two universes mixed up a lot. Crossing over the actors is only going to make things worse, so I think it's a really bad idea. Any other thoughts on the DC stuff before we move on? I do want to get to my member question of the day. This one I just posted this morning. I asked my members Do you think that James Gunn's Superman Legacy has any chance of being a hit, or do you think that audiences have just completely abandoned DC forever? You guys had some pretty interesting things to say. Editing Geek, again, thank you so much for being a member, says, I think Superman Legacy will do average numbers at the box office. I don't think DC is the type of studio that will ever have a hugely successful film at this point. Yeah, I think at this point, the brand is just so damaged. I think for DC to get $1 billion film, I think it's probably going to either take a long time just for people to get the bad taste of DC out of their mouth, or it's going to take like just a really fantastic Batman film. Like maybe Batman Part 2 is so good it makes $1 billion or something like that. Or maybe Joker 2 makes $1 billion. I mean, the first one did. I think those are the only DC movies I can see like becoming a massive hit, to be honest. The others, I just don't see it. Jorge Barrios, wow, you've been so kind this entire live stream. Thank you so much. Superman needs to be the Boy Scout, fun and charismatic. Fully agree. One of the things that I like about the old school Superman films, like the ones with Christopher Reeves, is that I love that he comes across as like this, like, oh shucks, boy wonder kind of kid. Like he's supposed to represent all that's good and moral with the world. I feel like we need a character like that. I feel like we need a character that actually displays some hope and optimism, and Superman is supposed to be that character. So I really hope that James Gunn does lean into that, for sure. I think that if he does do that with the character, there might be hope for the film, but if he makes this Superman just some, moody, depressed, emo kid like they did with Henry Cavill, I don't think this movie will do well at all. Little Joe's Animations, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are so kind. Sick of franchise homework, same with me. Same with Star Wars. I have things to do, don't want to waste time trying to connect the dots, sifting through past-ish. Yeah, speaking of Star Wars, they have a whole new show coming out this week called Ahsoka. And I feel like no one besides hardcore Star Wars fans on the internet are even talking about it. Like, do you guys even know that there's a Star Wars show coming out this week? Like, seriously, that's how dead these franchises are becoming because these studios keep over-exploiting them to the point that no one cares about them anymore. Matt B. Trailer says, I really like this video. Oh, I'm glad that you liked the video. I'm sorry the live stream wasn't more put together. I'm trying to work on the tech issues. I apologize for that, but I'm glad you're liking the stream. Yeah, Jojo Rod agrees. Yeah, small town country boy vibes. Yeah, Superman needs to have those vibes. I don't want Superman to be some cool kid. I don't want Superman to be some, like, jock or whatever. I really do feel like he needs to be, like, a good old nerd. Like, a good old boy kind of nerd. Like, I feel like that's what people liked about the original Superman with Christopher Reeves. So I think he needs to tap into that. That would be that's what I would do if I were in his place. Oh, you guys have never heard of the Star Wars show coming out this week. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The fact that you guys are like, wait, what show? Is anyone going to watch Ahsoka? I feel like that show's going to get no viewership. Because no one is, like, into this. It's fascinating to me. Lala Kitty says, rip Superman. Oh, no. Don't say rip Superman. We don't know yet. The movie could be good, guys. The movie could be good. We'll see. I definitely will cover it when it comes out, though. Going back to the member questions, João Pedro, thank you for being a member, says, as someone who's not that into Superman stuff, it's hard to say, but I think the only DC movies that might have a chance of doing well now are the Batman-related ones. Exactly what I just said. Although I'm still not sure about Brave and the Bold, the DC version of Batman. I just think that people are just gonna stick with Pattinson. I don't know if they can support two Batmans, so we'll see. Danny says, I think since its release is for 2025 and we're going to all be forced to take a break because of the strikes, it has a chance. It will depend on a lot, and the actors they choose will be the utmost importance to carry this movie to victory. I think you're definitely right. That's why I'm actually glad that they chose Rachel Brosnahan for Lois Lane, because I love Mrs. Maisel. I think she's a fantastic actress. Rachel Brosnahan was also on House of Cards, like way back in the day, and she was fantastic in that. That's actually where I first got to know her. So Rachel Brosnahan is a really great actress. And I'm excited to see her as Lois Lane. She's honestly the thing I'm most excited for out of anything. But I think you're right. The casting is very important. Again, thank you, Prince, who is always the best moderator ever. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. A lot of people who watch these videos actually aren't subscribed. So if you want to see my live streams, if you want to be part of them live, if you're like playing the playback and you're like, how do I watch these live streams live? Just subscribe. I do these live streams every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so join the party. We're having a lot of fun over here. Jojo Rod says, only the Lucinators will watch Ahsoka. I don't even know what Lucinators is. Oh, Lucasnators. Okay, I get what you're saying. Only the hardcore George Lucas fans will watch it. Yeah, you're probably right. Elizabeth says, I love Star Wars. I'm gonna watch it. Well, I'm glad that you're gonna watch it. In fact, I am gonna watch it as well. Even though I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, I do like to at least try this stuff out. So I will watch the first episode tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know what I think of it on Wednesday. Very, very curious to see how this show does, though. Jorge Barrios, again, thank you so much. Jorge, wow, you're so kind. Thank you. The Batman 2 is DC's only hope. DC is in a corner. Yeah, definitely agree. Although I think Joker 2 also could be a hit. I think with Lady Gaga added to Joker 2, I think Joker 2 could still be a massive hit. I think both that and Batman 2 are their biggest chances. But yeah, definitely agree with you. Josh Loves Movies says, I hope Ahsoka is good. Me too. Me too. Because Star Wars definitely needs something good. That's for sure. All right. Now, I have one WTF news of the day, and then that's the end of the live stream for today. And that's this. This is completely separate. Again, I do WTF news occasionally just because I like to throw in a random thing for us to talk about that's fun. And remember when I said that the future of entertainment is individualized, creator-led, and like everyone becomes their own independent creator? Well, it looks like Korea is already well ahead of the rest of the world like usual. Because look at this. I found this on Twitter this morning and I had to share with it. This is what they're doing. This is Indonesia, sorry. This is how Indonesia is trying to grow their user-generated content. They're treating independent content creation, like what I do, as a profession that they're actually trying to encourage. And look at this workspace. This is a workspace in Indonesia where they have a bunch of people in their own like little like rooms recording stuff for their own YouTube channel or whatever it is. This is what I say, this is the future of entertainment. Everyone gets their own camera, everyone has their own show. This is the kind of stuff that I see like 10 years from now, literally everyone doing. I just think that they're kind of already ahead of the game, as Asia usually is. I thought this video was very fascinating and I had to show it to you guys to show you what I mean by the future of entertainment. But yeah, that was a live stream for today. Thank you everyone who came here. I will go to the main shot now. I just think that I had to show you that video because it just perfectly illustrates everything that I've been talking about the future of independent creation. Pretty crazy stuff. So now, for the rest of the video, I'm just going to take like a few more questions. I always like to open up the end of the live streams for a Q&A, and that'll be at the end of the stream for today. So thank you everyone who came here today. Really appreciate it. We had a great discussion. I'm so sorry for all the tech issues and audio issues. I will fix it, I promise. But yeah, getting to the chat again. Oh, we have a couple of super chats. Oh my gosh, there's so many super chats. You guys are so kind today. Like, wow, so generous. Jorge, you were great. Thank you so much. The Modern Designer says, have you seen the animated Star Wars Visions on Disney Plus? I haven't seen it, no. But maybe I should see it. The animation does look beautiful. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, I'm glad, Holly, you enjoyed the chat. Thank you. Yes, we can talk about the voice actor. I was gonna save that for tomorrow because it doesn't look like there's a lot of news, and I just wanted to focus mainly on DC today. But the Mario news we'll cover that tomorrow. I'm trying to spread out the news so we have like mostly like one discussion per stream, so it's not like all over the place. But we'll see. CD Woods says it looks so corporate and fake. Oh, what, this? You guys wouldn't want to work here? I I gotta say, as an independent content creator, it would be kind of fun to work here. Have like a whole office where everyone has their own little studio. I don't know. I'm kind of into it. Do you guys think this is crazy? Lil Boozy Bert says, oh, another super chat. Wow, this has been great for super chats today. Thank you so much. This reminds me of the public broadcasting station in my town. Any old body could use the studio. They would also air it, if it is. Interesting. I would love if they had, like, a new broadcasting station where everyone could go and, like, do their own, like, set up their own little studio. I would love if they had something like this in the US. I think they should, to be honest. I think the whole path of being a content creator is becoming so common. I think we could do stuff like this. We should, anyway. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Going back to the main shot, I'll answer 3 more questions, and then that'll be the end of the stream for today. Again, sorry if the stream felt a little all over the place. Tomorrow will be better. Oh, CD Woods says it's unsettling. Why do you think it's unsettling? Jojo Rod says, Brittney, are you gonna make merch when you hit 100K? That's a good idea. In fact, I've been thinking about making merch. Maybe when I do hit 100K subscribers, I should do that. That's a good idea. Thank you, Joe. Hannah says, it's not for YouTube. Marketplace sites like Amazon in Asia have live selling, so these people are all selling items. Oh, so they're setting up, like, live selling farms? Interesting. The future's gonna be weird, y'all. Very interesting. Prince says, yeah, do it and slap $1,000 for an hour in the USA. I don't know. I don't know about that, y'all. Doesn't seem like you guys have too many questions. So I guess that'll be the end of the stream for today. Thank you so much. You guys were, like, very, very generous and kind this stream. This was, like, I don't know. You guys are just the best. I have some of the best viewers, honestly. Again, thank you for the patience of all the tech issues. I am working on it, I promise. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll have more discussions. I will talk about the Mario thing. I just wanted to make this stream mostly focused on DC. And we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff tomorrow. It'll be another fun stream. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.